You've got an app idea that is going to change the world. But here is the problem. You have no idea where to start. And if you don't figure it out fast, that idea is just going to stay in your head. Today, I'm going to help you build your very first SaaS app from zero to a working product. We are talking no code, low code, workflow automation platform. The kind that can save businesses hours every week without writing a single line of code. So picture this. A business needs to automatically add new customers to their CRM, send welcome emails, and notify their team on Slack, all from a single contact form. We will build exactly that. I'll break down every step along the way. My name is Nelson. I've been a software engineer for 10 years. I've built and launched apps like Trackmaster on NPM and Content Map for creators and marketers. I've also built multiple six-figure apps for clients. I know what it takes to get from idea in your head to a product in people's hands. And that's exactly what we're doing right now. By the end of this video, you have your first SaaS app live and the confidence to start charging for it. So with that being said, without further ado, let's get building. Everything starts with an idea. Every app you've ever used, every business you admire, every overnight success story, at the root of it all, there was a single thought, what if? But here's the thing, not all ideas are created equal. Some sound good in the head, but fall flat in reality. Others seem boring at first, but quietly solve problems so painful that people are happy to pay for them. The first step of building a successful app isn't writing a single line of code. It's finding a rock-solid idea. It's the foundation your entire product will stand on. If the foundation is weak, it doesn't matter how beautiful your design is, how clean your code is, the whole thing collapses. Let me show you what I mean. The app you're building today, Nexus, was born from a real pain point. Businesses are drowning in disconnected data islands. HubSpot's over there, Slack over there, email outreach in another corner. People are wasting hours every week just moving information between them. The so-called solutions like Zapier, N8N, make are bloated, overly complex, and often demand some level of low-code skills most small teams do not have. When you are running on a tight budget and even tighter deadlines, that is not a fix, it's another problem. That is the pain point. The idea, a clean visual platform that connects all of your tools and automates the mind-numbing busy work. No code, no steep learning curve, just click, connect, and get back to actual work. Imagine linking HubSpot, Slack, and your email outreach in 1 minute with a single OAuth integration. That's exactly the gap our app is here to close. There's a difference between a random idea and a valuable one. It solves a problem people already feel. It fits into their life without massive behavior change. It creates results they actually care about. If you want me to go deeper into how to find an idea and validate it, leave a comment down below and I'll follow up on a dedicated video just for that, okay? Every great idea starts with a spark, an idea that promises to make life easier, faster, better. But ideas alone don't build products. But without direction, even the smartest AI can wander, chasing the wrong goals, producing irrelevant outputs, or wasting resources on low impact work. That's where product requirement comes in. It's an AI's playbook, defining exactly what to build, why it matters, and how success is measured. It transforms a raw concept into clear, machine-readable objectives so the agent executes with precision, efficiency, and purpose. Here's what to do. Go to your preferred AI tool of choice and prompt it with, please write me a PRD for an AI agent that can help me reach an MVP. Also add in the end, make sure to include pricing model options and landing page copy suggestions to help me market the app. And boom, wait a few seconds, and as you can see, this PRD clearly states the problem statement, overall vision, target, audience, and personas. It even includes a competitor landscape analysis that compares the major players and highlights where we fit in and provide value in the market. Most importantly, it outlines the MVP feature scope. If you are not satisfied with any part, you can always request for modification, such as asking for revisions based on specific tech stack. For instance, the next step is to grab one of my templates from GitHub. These are ready-made templates that handle the foundation of your application, like authentication, authorization, Stripe, payment integration, and database. This is usually a part of application building process that takes time, and this template is essentially going to give you some of your time back. While templates are not required here, they are going to accelerate development significantly. Alternatively, you can also use one of Vercel's free templates. Mine is built with Daisy UI and includes over 15 different themes to make your app unique. It uses ngrok for authentication and Stripe for payment. At this stage, we are going to clone the template. Click the code button, copy the URL, head over to your code editor of choice. I'll be using Cursor here. If you're using Cursor or Windsurf, you can tell it to clone this repository into a specific folder on your computer under a new name, of course, like your application's name, okay? But I want to make sure we do this correctly, so we are going to go old school for a second. At the bottom of Cursor or VS Code, you will see something called the terminal. If you do not see it, just simply press Ctrl plus Shift plus the little backtick key right under escape. Don't panic, this isn't some hacker movie moment, okay? The terminal is simply a place where we can type short commands to make things happen, like starting our application, installing dependencies, or troubleshooting issues. You can also ask Cursor to handle this for you. Or from now onward, the terminal is going to be your friend. When you boot up the terminal for the first time, it should always point to your root directory. We're going to run the command cd documents, and this should move from the root directory to the documents directory, okay? Here in the documents directory or folder is where we want to save our application. So go over here and then write the command git clone, paste the URL we just copied from GitHub, and right after that, name your app. Type any name you want. In this case, I'm going to type Nexus. And this is going to clone the application into the new folder called Nexus in this case, okay? From here, we need to run the command pnpm install. Now, pnpm is my package manager of choice. You can also use npm, which comes with Node.js, okay? If everything goes right, you should see this, and then run the command pnpm dev, okay, to run the dev server. At this stage, if you're running into any issues or errors, it means you probably do not have Node.js installed on your computer. It's simple, just go to nodejs.org and then download one of the long-term support versions, okay, LTS versions, or any version you want, but install the appropriate version onto your computer. And if you run node-v and npm-v, it should show some sort of a version number. This is how you know you have Node.js properly installed on your computer. After we run pnpm dev or npm dev, we should open up our browser and then type localhost colon 3000, okay? This is going to open our application in the browser on our local machine, okay? It's going to create a local server and then open our browser. If you look into the terminal, you would see that a URL of the same format has been provided as well. You can copy that and paste it into your browser. And we already greeted here with a nice friendly error. That is okay. We are going to fix this in a second. So let's go back to our code. Go to the readme.md file, which usually contains instructions on how to run any application, okay? So like you can see here, it's asking us to clone the repo and install it, which we already did, okay? We just need to continue with the rest of the setup process. So over here where it says Stripe login, copy it and paste it in the terminal. It's going to open up Stripe on the browser for you to log in. Go ahead and log in, and if you cannot log in, you probably need to sign up first. Go ahead and register for a Stripe account, okay? Then run pnpm db column setup, okay, to set up your database, okay? Type L here to run the database locally. But before we are able to run the database locally, we need to install what you call Docker, okay? So go over to docker.com and follow the URL that is provided in the terminal and follow the instructions to download Docker onto your computer. It's the same download process. And then once you download it, just install it onto your computer. It will detect Docker after you run the setup command again, okay? So in my case, I already had an instance of the database running, so I had to ask Cursor for help here. If you've successfully gone through all the README steps and installed Docker and set up your database correctly, you should be here. This is the template running currently that we are about to build on top of. And at this stage, if you have gotten to this point, congratulate yourself, because we have made some significant progress. We have crossed a huge hurdle. Also, Don't forget to run the rest of the commands in the readme.md files, okay, like the pmpmdb :migrate and pmpmdb :c to finish the rest of the database setup. So before we proceed, there's one thing about this template that I want to show you. If you want to switch between teams, for instance, we do not like this default theme that the template comes with. You can scroll all the way down in the readme.md file and you can run this command and it's going to list all of the teams we do have, okay? And with this template, you can also change the font, you can also change the colors. This is what I love about this template that makes it really stand out, okay? This provides you a consistent design language across your application. So I'm going to choose this theme for now, and now our database is set up. We can sign up and log in into the dashboard. At this stage, go back to your code editor and create a new folder and call it docs. And then create a file within the folder and call it pre.md. Then copy the PRD we created earlier and paste it here. So you downloaded this app that makes so many promises of solving problems in your life, in your business, or even entertain you. 5 seconds in, you're already frustrated. Buttons are scattered, colors are clashing, the whole layout is a mess. Most apps don't fail because of bad code, they fail because of bad design. Design is the language between you and the machine. When that language is broken, the whole experience collapses, and here is the real trap. AI makes it easier than ever to get decent design, but decent is what everyone else already has. Safe layouts, generic colors, forgettable experiences. In this section of the video, I'll show you the exact framework I use to make my app stand out in a world of cookie cutter AI. 3 ways to approach design, why most people get stuck on the first 2, and why the third one is the unfair advantage I use every time. Number 1 is to hire a designer or use Figma. This is the gold standard if you got a budget. Professional designers understand spacing, typography, color psychology, and accessibility at a level most founders overlook. The problem? It's pricey. A strong UI UX designer can easily run you 5 to 20k for a full project. And if you don't know how to give good direction, you will burn money fast. Figma is amazing if you're hands-on and already have some design skills. But for most developers and entrepreneurs, it becomes another steep learning curve. 2. Use AI design, but I would recommend using Lovable. Tools like Lovable have lowered the barrier. In minutes, you can spit out a clean, usable design that looks professional. The upside? Speed. You can go from idea to polished mockup in a day. The downside? Sameness. AI is trained on the existing design patterns, so it often spits out what's safe. Your app ends up looking like every other SaaS landing page. That's fine if you just need something functional, but dangerous if you want to stand out. 3. DIY hybrid method. Here's where the magic happens. Combine AI speed with human taste for uniqueness. Step 1. Grab inspiration from Vercel or Behance. Find layouts, color palettes, and micro interactions that spark emotions. Step 2. Feed those ideas into an AI tool to generate a base design. Now you are not starting from scratch, you are starting from inspired. Step 3. Customize the template. Adjust theme colors to match your brand. Tweak typography for personality. And refine spacing to guide the eye. The result, something that feels original, polished, and still fast to produce. You're not just relying on AI, you are directing it. This third method I'll be showing you in detail towards the end of the video, so make sure to stick around for it. You'll see how I take a plain AI generated layout and transform it into something that feels alive, human, and unforgettable. You've got an idea, a spark, maybe an app, a product, or a new way to solve a problem. But coming up with the idea is the easy part. The real challenge, making it real. And that's where the technical hat comes in. The builder's hat, the problem solver's hat. Coding used to mean wrestling with syntax alone, just you and a blinking cursor. But now with AI, it feels more like a collaboration. You describe your vision, the machine helps you bring it to life. That shift has completely changed the game. But AI has taken over the easy part of coding, writing the boilerplate, remembering syntax, filling in the blanks. But the hardest part still remains debugging, because AI can't read your mind. It doesn't know your exact intentions, what you meant, or where you are trying to take your application. That's where collaboration comes in. You are guiding AI, asking smarter questions, steering the problem solving process. And that skill, That's what makes you valuable. Not how fast you type or how many languages you know, but your ability to break down tough problems and work with AI to solve them. So before we dive into debugging and problem solving, we need to build a foundation. Let's start with the basics through a restaurant analogy. Imagine you're running a restaurant. Every part of it works like programming. First, the kitchen is your memory. Inside, you've got shelves of ingredients, flour, eggs, salt. In code, those ingredients, you could call them variables. You label them so you know exactly what to grab later. But not all ingredients are the same. You've got meat, vegetables, spices. In programming, you could call these different data types. These are numbers, text, true, false values. Knowing the type keeps you from, say, tossing salt into your cake batter by mistake. Now, a chef doesn't just dump ingredients together, do they? They follow a recipe, a step-by-step instructions. In programming, you would call those functions. You give inputs, follow the steps, and end up with a dish. Of course, chefs make decisions along the way. If the steak is rare, it stays on the grill. If the customer is vegan, no cheese at all. In programming logic, that's conditionals. When you need more than one dish, you don't rewrite the entire recipe 50 times. You repeat the process, and that in programming is called a loop. The system keeps running steps until the job is done, like baking 50 cupcakes. And before anything leaves the kitchen, the chef tastes it. That is debugging. Checking your work, fixing mistakes before serving the customer. Now, let's zoom out for a second. Your restaurant isn't just cooking, it's taking orders. This is where client-server comes in. The customer at the table is the client. They look at the menu, that is the API. Choose what they want, tell the waiter, that is the request. The waiter doesn't cook, do they? They are just the middleman, You could call them the network that carries messages between the table and the kitchen. The kitchen is the server. It receives the order, pulls the right ingredients, data, follows the recipe, functions, and plays the dish properly. The waiter then delivers it back to the customer as the response, Even plating matters. A good kitchen doesn't just toss raw chicken on the plate. It formats the meal neatly. Same with servers. They send responses in the form the client understands, like HTML or JSON. In short, client equals to a customer placing an order. Server equals to kitchen preparing the order. Network is the waiter carrying the request and responses. And API equals to the menu defining available options. So with understanding the fundamentals, let's dive into actual code. We are going to use Cursor code for these next steps. Yes, it might be a bit pricey, but trust me, it's a bit better than the competition. It's better than Cursor and Windsurf out there. And I would strongly recommend switching to it if you are trying to build any type of serious software. In this case, I'll be switching between Claude Code and Cursor. Claude Code for the heavy duty stuff and Cursor for the minor things. To install Claude Code, just run the following command: npm install-g at anthropic-ai/Claude Code. After installing, I'll open a new terminal by clicking on this plus button right here to open an extra terminal. I'm just going to drag it to the right here to create another window. You can then type Claude to summon Claude and then type yes or enter, to proceed to the next step. And it's just going to open a window for you to be able to talk to Claude Code. Here, I'm going to tell it to first review the prd.md file we created earlier, come out with an implementation plan. Make sure to read through this plan to make sure everything makes sense and captures everything you want to accomplish with your application. The red highlighted lines here means code that has been deleted, and the green highlighted lines here means code that has been added. You can press the enter to tell Claude Code to proceed if everything looks good to you. Claude Code uses a checklist to tackle each task one at a time until all tasks are done executing. I asked her to make a correction here because it attempted to remove the pricing page, which I think is important for the future. Claude Code is now installing extra packages we'll need for styling and React Flow library, which is going to be the base for building the workflows. Claude Code would periodically stop and ask you to test its changes before proceeding, to make sure everything works properly. We then run pnpm dev here to reopen the server, and if you already had it running, you can press Ctrl C to kill the server and then rerun pm dev to restart it, okay, to make sure everything is running correctly. But it looks like we might have an error as always, but do not panic. Just copy the error you see on the browser and then paste it into the Claude code window and ask it to resolve it. And there we go, the app is running and even went ahead to update the landing page copy. It has also implemented a workflows integration page successfully. Let's see if you can create a new workflow. And yes, we can create a new workflow. We can connect the nodes, obviously, as you can see here. So we are looking really good. I'll tell Claude Code it has done a fantastic job and continue with the next steps. Although I would have preferred a workflow page within the dashboard, but I see what it did here. It simply created an overview within the dashboard so we can easily get to the workflows and integrations page easily. We then ask it to complete the Slack and HubSpot integration. Alright, now let's test it. We have an integrations tab. We are able to connect to an OAuth API. So the way the web host is going to work is it's going to generate a URL that we can plug into any form outside of our application. But for the sake of testing and to move things quicker, we are going to use a terminal to send the form data here. Okay, we are in business and now we can click on a node and that reveals the connection tab. At this point, we're going to head over to HubSpot developer portal to register our application. Click on the get started and sign out with your Gmail or any account of your choice, okay? And make sure you answer all the questions on the onboarding screen. Then once you're signed in, look for create a developer account button and you should be able to register your application, okay? You can then fill out a form with your application information and then click on create app. And then we should have access to our app ID and other information on the off tab. Here, we also need a redirect URL, which is the URL HubSpot is going to use to redirect back to after it's done authenticating on the OAuth page. If you do not know the URL, just ask Claude Code to produce or Orchestra to give you the URL that it created earlier. Now you should be able to copy the app ID and client secret and set those up in your .env file, or simply just provide it Orchestra or Claude Code and ask it to create a .env file and set these values in it. Also make sure you go back to the off tab and under the scope section, make sure to turn on these sections, which are the read and write access. For Slack, we repeat the exact same process. First of all, make sure you have a Slack account by going to slack.com and signing up. Create a workspace, okay? And once you create a workspace, you can go to the Slack API and sign in with the same login and then create an app. Enter your app's name and select the workspace that you created earlier. Don't do what I did by naming all of your workspaces similar and then confusing yourself. We now need to add a Slack client ID and Slack client secret to our environment variables. Okay, so remember the .env file. We need to add the Slack client ID and then Slack client secret as well. And all of the information can be found on the basic information page. Also ask Claude Code to, again, for the redirect URL for Slack, and it should be able to provide you that redirect URL, and then go over to the OAuth and permissions page and under redirect URL, paste the redirect URL for Slack that Claude gave you, okay? But we have a problem. Unlike HubSpot, Slack is a bit more demanding. It is requiring an actual HTTPS endpoint. We are going to use a workaround here. Okay, we are going to install ngrok, what is called ngrok, onto our computer by doing an npm install ngrok/ngrok. And once that is installed, make sure to go to ngrok.com and then go and sign up, okay, and register with your email. You are now going to rerun the dev server by running npm run dev or pnpm run dev, and then open another terminal and run ngrok http 3000, and the 3000 here is the port to your local server, okay? And this is going to create a URL for us that we can use to access the same application from outside of our networks. Also make sure to turn on read and write permissions, or else we won't be able to send any messages to Slack at all. You should be able to find this information under the scopes section in the OAuth and permissions page. Make sure you also copy the redirect URL and also paste it here under the redirect URL. Save it and reinstall your app, and voila, here we go, we are cooking, guys. At this point, we are connected to Slack and we are able to select all of our public channels within the Slack workspace, and we've made a huge progress. But as you can see, we are unable to send messages yet, and we still have some progress to make before this is fully functional. At this point, let's take a step back for a moment and just review what we've learned so far. There are 3 steps here to connecting an external application to your own application. Okay, first, what did we do? We went to the external application, registered with our email, and then created an app within that application. Okay, so it knows our app. Okay, it then gives us an app ID and then a secret that we can set up in our .env file and use it to make communications with that external application. So it knows, oh, it is actually us. It did provide us those secrets and those app ID. Okay, and then thirdly, you need to turn on some sort of read-write permissions, or some apps might require some extra permissions that you need to turn on, and this just allows your application to write to their database or read from their database. Okay, so these 3 steps are very important, and this is how you communicate with another application. Okay, at this point, we have made a huge progress, and this is where we need to take a step back and then save our work so we don't lose it. Okay, so here I want you to go over to Cursor and ask it to create a repo from this one, but make sure to tell it to create a new repo since we cloned this one. Okay, now go to github.com, sign up if you haven't. Okay, and then sign in into your account. Create a new repo by clicking the new repo button, name it, add a description if you want, and then you want to select if this should be a public or private repo. Okay, in this case, I'm just going to select private and then click repo, then copy this URL and give this back to Cursor, and it will go ahead and initialize the new repository locally and push it to GitHub for us. Also make sure to ask Cursor to update that readme.md file, and it's just going to provide anybody that is looking into our application some sort of instructions or guidance on how to run and install our application. It's now time to test the workflow in action. Okay, for the sake of testing, we're going to send data or form data to the webhooks through the terminal here. Okay, it would be more convenient to send it through a form, but we just want to test it right now, so we're just going to use a terminal for now. But it looks like we have an issue here. It looks like the generated URL that is being generated is for a domain we haven't set up yet. So this is an easy fix. Just start Claude code to fix this. The workflow needed to be active before we sent the webhook as well. I also realized every time we save a workflow, it flicked back to inactive. So again, Claude Code was able to fix this. We are finally beginning to see success messages when we did send the form through the webhook. So at this time, I realized that we were not able to send messages to our Slack channel because we had not added the Nexus bot or the Nexus app we had created in the Slack API earlier to the Slack channel. So it won't be able to receive messages unless we add it to the channel. So to do this, make sure you go to the Slack channel we added within the workflow, the same Slack channel you added within the workflow, and just go and type at the app we created within Slack API. Okay, and if you're doing this for the first time, Slack will ask you to invite a bot into the channel. Just go ahead and click yes, and then we are going to attempt send the webhook, and voila, the message has been sent to the Slack channel. It's now time to test HubSpot. We are going to attempt to create a new contact by populating these fields with the field name, and the values are in this format here because those are considered variables. Okay, we are essentially referencing the trigger here, which is this webhook trigger, and we are getting the email, the first name, the last name, and company from the data we just sent. Okay, so now let's attempt to send the data to our HubSpot contact, and here we go. You can see that the contact John Doe has successfully been entered. Now we'll need to connect Slack and email, And what we want to do here is when a contact has successfully been entered into the HubSpot contact, we want to send over a welcome email, okay, and a Slack notification to the team that a new member has been added to the CRM. At this point, if you're receiving messages within Slack and it's sending the variables instead of replacing them with the dynamic values, just tell Claude Code to fix it, and it would fix this easily. So this is where I ran into a lot of issues and I had to debug. Okay, I couldn't get SendGrid, which is what we agreed on for the email client earlier. I couldn't get it to work, so I had to improvise. Okay, so I switched to Resend Email, okay, which is another email service, and you can simply just ask Claude Code to help you set this up, and it was able to handle this easily. And here we're able to test the email and finally receive email notification after someone has successfully entered the form data. Okay, but it still got the formatting wrong, and again, you can easily just ask Claude Code or Cursor to fix this. At this point, make sure you commit your changes to GitHub, and then we are going to ask Claude Code or Cursor to run the build command, okay, and prepare our application for production. It's just going to run the build and make sure our apps is built successfully, and we won't have any issues when we deploy it. Okay, at this point, we are almost ready for production, but we need to add some final finishes. Okay, our application is not ready. It's filled with bugs. Okay, for instance, here, there's no way for users to delete a node. Okay, and there's no way for users to delete a node connection. So we're going to fix this with Cursor and Claude Code. And now we have this beautiful button that allows us to be able to delete nodes and connections. We want to also update the landing page copy a bit. So we're just going to ask Claude Code to update it. And I also realized the pricing page was broken, and I simply asked Claude Code to fix it. I also noticed that after the landing page had been updated, the navigation bar was not consistent across all pages. I also made sure when we signed in, it shows on the dashboard to sign out button. Okay, and when we are signed out, it shows the sign in button. Now I also noticed when we are signed out, we are able to navigate back to the dashboard, which is a huge no. This is a huge security flaw. Okay, that means people will be able to access our application when they are not signed up or signed in. Stripe was also broken as well, so I basically asked Claude Code to fix it. And now look, mama, we made it. This stage is where you need to use all of the skills we have learned so far when it comes to debugging, okay? To find solutions to the problems you're going to encounter in this stage. We're going to be using Vercel to host our application. So go to vercel.com and ensure you are logged in. Preferably use GitHub account to register, because it makes these next steps really easy. Once you're logged in, add a new project and you should see your app within the list, okay, from GitHub. Or you might need to log into GitHub at this point to make that connection happen. Here you can add any environment variables. You can just simply go back to your Claude Code, go to your .env file, copy all of the environment variables and paste them here. Now we are going to change some of these environment variables to match production values. Now that we are fully deployed, we want to visit the site, and we run into database issues because we are not connected to a database yet. Remember, we set up a database locally on Docker. Here, well, we need to set it up a little bit different. Here's how to do it. Go over to superbase.com, okay, and make sure you sign up if you haven't, or sign in if you have. And within the dashboard, create a new project and fill out a form like your project name, and make sure you copy this database password, okay, after hitting generate password, and save it somewhere. We'll be using or needing it in a second. Now then click create new project. Now this is important. Come over here at the top of the Superbase and click connect on this model. You will see all of the connection URLs you need for your database to connect successfully. Go all the way down to the session pooler, copy the URL, head over to Vercel, to your app settings, to the environment variables, and replace the Postgres URL with that URL, and also make sure to replace where it says your password with your Supabase password that we just copied earlier. Okay, now go to the three little dots here at the right corner and create a new deployment. Select main branch, create a deployment. Now we need to ask Cursor or Claude Code to give us the database schema for our application. Make sure to follow the steps it outlines by copying the schema and the role level security. Go over to the SQL editor in your Supabase table, okay, and then paste them and run them, and you should see success. If you run into errors, just copy the errors and back to Cursor, and it should be able to help you fix these. Visit the URL in Vercel and you should be able to create an account, log into your application, which means the database has successfully been connected. Now we're able to sign up and log in. Now, and at this step, also make sure to replace all of these URLs, like the next of URL and base URL, with the actual Vercel production URL or your own domain, okay, if you have one, because at this point we are in production and we are not in our local server, okay, so all of these will need to be replaced with an actual domain, okay, for the application to work properly. So after doing this, make sure you redeploy the application, okay, so the environment variables will take effect. Make sure to add your Vercel URL or production URL to the HubSpot redirect URL. Remember, we use localhost, okay, so you want to replace the localhost portion of the redirect URLs with the Vercel URLs, okay, and reinstall the application if you're on Slack to make sure it works properly. And HubSpot, you should just hit save and you should be good to go. And make sure you test everything to make sure everything is working. At this point, HubSpot works, Slack works as expected. Okay, go to if you want to connect a domain other than the generic one Vercel gives you, just go over to Namecheap or GoDaddy. I usually use Namecheap, and once you buy a domain, you should be able to go over here to the manage, okay, manage on the domain name, and then click on advanced, and it should expose the A and AAA records, and just go back to Vercel and go to add, and go back to Vercel and go to add domain, and you should be able to copy those values over to Namecheap, and it should make the connection. It usually takes a few minutes to make the connection happen, and you should be good to go. This is what our UI currently looks like. It's plain, it's boring, but I want to add some spice to it, okay? So go over to dribble.com or Behance, okay? Here you'll find inspiration for all types of websites you're looking for. In the search, we're going to search for automation app, and then we see what we come out with. For instance, look at this right here. This could make our app really unique, but let's dig deeper. Look at this one, I really like it. I think this fits exactly what we are looking for. I'll then go ahead and review some more UI inspirations, okay? Here you just want to pick one that looks great or resonates with you, and then you can go ahead to ChatGPT or Claude, and I'm just going to use Claude here and upload the image that I took a screenshot of, okay, of the inspiration that I like, and ask it to provide the image in the JSON format. If you're in Cursor as well, you can just feed it that image. Once the JSON file has been generated, you want to go over to Claude Code or Cursor, and you want to ask it to redesign your site based on the JSON file, okay? You want to be detailed as possible here, where you want things to be, or else it's just going to do its thing. It's not going to read your mind here, okay? I would suggest, if you're doing this for the first time, just go over to Cursor and do it, because it's easy to revert your changes if you do not like the changes it makes. Make sure you commit and save all of your work first, so that you can easily revert back to your old Git commit in case the design do not work here, okay? And there you go. it got it exactly how I wanted it. The buttons up here don't seem to work, but it can be an easy fix. But look at how different this is compared to what we had before. This is much more intuitive. And with that being said, this is the end of the video, guys. If you like this, if you watch this to this point, you are the real MVP. And please give this video a thumbs up, and please subscribe if you haven't to, for more videos to come. And if you enjoy this content, you will like this video as well. And that's it, guys. Till the next video. Peace.